Billie Jo Smith is going to join us from the Lincoln County Water Systems Alliance, LCWSA, and talk about the Lincoln County Water Systems Alliance.
So you're right. It's been a long time since we worked together. It's good to be here, and I'm happy to share this information with you and whomever might be listening today. We're in the process of beginning the Lincoln County Water Systems Alliance, and would really need the county to be a piece of it. I'll explain what it is. The alliance is stemming from a project, the Mid-Coast Water Planning Partnership, that's been going on for 8 years in Lincoln County. And the things that the alliance is addressing are high priority pieces of their action plan that was developed. And so we are taking those and making them happen is basically what's happening. And we're dealing with water systems, those systems that supply water for human use. And of course, to look at that, we also need to look at and are very, very definitely including the environments that those water systems are fed by. That is in a piece of it. We would like, and we're getting this to happen, I think, participation from all the Lincoln County cities. Currently, we have all but 2 that have signed the resolution to become members, and those 2 are in the process. We've presented to one of them, and then their next meeting, they'll be looking at a resolution to officially become members. And Walport's the one that we've met with their city manager, and we're going to be going to their council again at their next meeting. So we're making progress there. Water districts, we're getting ready to start looking at those. We'll be first going to the major water districts, but we're also including the little ones, not in quite the same way in terms of the surveying that will be done and the actual data collection, but we will be including them in the alliance and looking at how they can also be receiving water. And by the way, I just need to read the mission, because we're looking at a 50-year plan here. This is futures planning. And the reason being that we already are having shortages, but climate change is going to increase those shortages. It's showing that our surface waters are where we get our water. Lincoln County does not have a great deal of groundwater. And even our springs are fed by our rainfall and our runoff. And that is projected to change. And as that changes, our water is going to decrease. So we're looking at a 50-year plan so we don't get caught up like some of the other parts of Oregon and the country have been with just not having enough water for our residences, but also our businesses and our other water users. So our goal is to review options, develop a 50-year plan, secure funding, and establish water supply and distribution systems, which will provide long-term water security for our entire county while achieving significant protections for our river streams and watersheds. So that's kind of the statement that pulls all that together. In addition to the cities and water districts, the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians has joined the alliance. Their tribal council approved it, and they were very excited about it. So this is very, very cool. We need you, and there will also be some support from conservation and water organizations and some of those state agencies. This has been the involvement with the Mid-Coast Water Planning Partnership has been very positive in relation to that, because those state agency people are on that group. And I've been working with them since they started 8 years ago. So their input will be something that we can also have for our group. So I've kind of told you about that. One of the reasons that we're joining together, rather than each little city, each little water district trying to develop the sources and the infrastructure and get the data they need for those sources and for that infrastructure, it's really difficult. the rural areas particularly. But our small cities are struggling with that. And the costs for infrastructure particularly are something they can't really deal with. And they don't have the influence and the personnel to actually deal with funding sources at larger levels and influence those. But when we join together and have a regional plan, then that's more successful because they can say, we're a part of a regional plan. And even the organization can be involved in applications that make sure all of these areas have the things they need. So this is a big piece of it. Do you all have this on your, you've got that,
We
okay.
do.
So
Yes.
on the back side of our introduction sheet, we tried to make this concise as possible, but yet include as much information as we thought you would need. We have 4 phases for this process. And the first one, phase 1, and I just kind of need to say, we're looking at this like a futures planning kind of process that where you look, what are all your possibilities? But then you have to take those, you don't just say, oh, well, I like that possibility, so let's do that one. You don't do that. You look at all the possibilities and then you evaluate those possibilities and you come up with what's really feasible, what's reasonable to do, what's viable to do. And then you get to your preferences. Okay, of these viable choices, these are the ones that we think about will work better for us. And then you implement those. So that's kind of the process that we have in these phases. And phase 1 is really gathering data and organizing that data so that we can discover what is really viable, what is really feasible. And we have been so fortunate. As a matter of fact, I started this project 2 years ago, but there was not a way to do phase 1 well. It's just not something you can hand to an engineering firm because they have the things they do and that's what they look at. But we were very fortunate to, and I was fortunate to know Dr. Kenneth Williamson, who is from Yachats. He's there, they live there part of the year. He is the former chair of engineering for OSU. He has been the director and has just retired recently of the Clean Water Resources, which was all of the water supply towns along the Tualatin and for the Tualatin River watershed. And I was talking with him. I said, who can we get to do this? How can we really make that happen? And he said, the thing will be to go to the Water Resources Institute at OSU and look at OSU. So he got us set up. We had 2 meetings at OSU, attended by chair of many different departments at OSU. And they loved the idea of tackling this project because it's not only collecting data and making decisions, they're going to make a decision-making platform. It's a gigantic computer program where they include all their possibilities. And for each of those possibilities, they have all the data that they can do. And they're also including not just the scientific data, but economic information and environmental information. They've got sociologists on this group as well as engineers and those people who could actually design an incredible computer platform to help us analyze this data. Ken had used a platform that they developed at Clean Water Resources, and then they're looking at expanding that exponentially. So this is a huge project. They're going to be analyzing all our watersheds. They're going to be looking at possible technological improvements that could go. How can we do the water storage? Is desalination using some of the wave energy that's been investigated here a possibility? They're going to be looking at all kinds of things because we're looking at 50-year plan and the possibility that those water systems we have right now are not going to make it. So this is exciting. So they are taking on phase 1. They've already, that's why we're kind of catching up almost because until we knew we could actually do this, we weren't trying to form an organization because it just wouldn't have been possible. But they've already applied for and received grant through OSU for initiation of the project. So they're going, they're moving on and getting ready to do this. They intend to, after this initiation process or even during it, they will be applying for grant funding. And they're pretty positive about getting a grant through National Science Foundation. They have a grant program that looks at community tie-ins, and that's what this is. So they just fit that perfectly. And so they're looking at a grant of about $2 million for over 2 years that will follow this initial initiation grant that they've done.
And Billie Jo, we're
Yes.
just talking about phase one,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Phase 2 is where they bring us their results, and it tell us the viable options. These are and those options will be kind of rated. You know, some will be better than others, and the critical thing is that they work out options that will help all of us throughout the county, throughout the region. It's not just we're not going to ignore the little people or the little groups either. They want to make sure that we work out options for everyone. And so they bring us those options, and then the LCWSA members will decide what goes into the 50-year plan. So, and they're retaining, we're making sure that our members realize if there's something in that plan that's for their district or city, they can say no. They will still have the right to say no and hope they come up with something else for their city. But we're not taking away the rights of any of our member organizations, cities, entities. But they can also, you know, they can do things that aren't on the plan as well. It's not a limiting thing, but it is a plan that should assure us to have water for at least the next 50 years. And anyway, that's what phase 3 is actually deciding what's going into the plan that would form the plan. And then phases 3 and 4 are making it happen. Coordinating to secure funding and to realize the plan. There will have to be some decisions made there. What we're thinking is by that time, I think this organization is going to need a official coordinator that I think a paid part-time coordinator will be important to keep it together, because it's at this point that there was an old coalition in Lincoln County in the late 90s and early 2000s that did put together some ideas and some plans. And I think all the cities and the larger water districts were included. Depot Bay was not, but the rest of them did join it. And it just sort of fell apart. They for unknown reasons, but they didn't have that kind of organization where there was somebody keeping them moving and saying, okay, we need to make this, we need to apply for this now, and that sort of thing. And this is going to have a timeline because it's 50 years we're talking about here. So that is probably a point where by that time we will need a full-time coordinator or a part-time coordinator, and we're working out how would that be paid, because the cities are all saying, we don't have any money for, you know how that goes. And they're right. Their budgets are stretched. But our suggestion there is, and this is just a suggestion, but you'll be able to, we're talking about water bills here, people that are buying your water, and with a simple, as much as a 50-cent per month planning fee on water bills would more than cover having covering a coordinator. That wouldn't have to be a grant, because we want this to be a position that's going to be ongoing, because if you get a grant, then that runs out, and then what happens? So that is a piece for, particularly when we get to phases 3 and 4. Phase 4 is actually doing it, having your engineering and drawing and all the good things that Newport folks were just talking about, making it happen, which we didn't want to stop with the plan. We don't want the plan to go on the shelf. We want the plan to go on. So that's what this is all about. And we're hoping, we have, are signing the people up right now with a resolution. I think you've gotten a copy of the one that we are using with the cities. It may need to be adapted a little bit for you. That will be followed up with an actual IGA, but we didn't feel comfortable producing the IGA until we actually had the group organized as you know, with the members. And we want more input from members as to, is this what you want to do? You're going to approve this legal document.
Mm.
The IGAs can be, of course, just about the same as what our little resolution is, because there's a level of IGA that's just a group of people getting together for a common cause. Or there's the IGA level, which goes along with the state statute that actually creates a non-governmental entity. And that one, I think, will be important to have by the time we get to phases 3 and 4 again, because at that point, people are going to be looking at funding lots of grants and applications and contracts and all that sort of thing, and that will be important. So we are looking at bringing an IGA forward, but we want to get our membership organized and let them have a lot of say in what's in that IGA.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason we're going resolution, then IGA. But we've included in the resolution a lot of things that the IGA will include as well. Just and that's changed over time as people suggest. And each city has altered it just a little bit, added some of their stuff, that sort of thing in the resolution. So I hope that you will consider that at your next meeting. It's really important. This is a countywide thing, and we really need county support and county involvement. And I think your decisions in terms of how that plan goes are just as important as all the others, because you've got the overview.
Yes.
So,
Well, Commissioner Hall, any preliminary thoughts?
I really appreciate the presentation. I had several questions in mind, but Billie Jo, as the presentation rolled on, I think it all became pretty clear. My questions were answered. I was, as you were speaking, remembering that effort at coordinated water planning many, many years ago. And I remember at the time thinking it was really a shame that it somehow just lost leadership, lost momentum, because water is life, as we say. And I think it's important for the county to be among the partners at the table as this work moves forward.
Yeah, and I imagine Commissioner Jacobson would have a keen interest in this as well. How many resolutions again so far?
We have all except 2 for the cities. We're just going to the cities.
Okay.
We've got the tribe in additional to the cities. And Lincoln City has had their presentation. They're ready to, their November meeting, they've got a bunch of changes in their meeting schedule. So their November meeting is where they will do the vote on the resolution. And Walport, we haven't gotten to their city council, although I met with a few of them. We've met with their city manager, and we'll be bringing it to their council in this next month. So,
Well, would absolutely love to see the variations on each
yeah,
jurisdiction.
actually sent you the
Okay, so
copies of those.
I've already got that to dive into. Okay, no pun intended there. And then any IGAs yet?
No.
Okay.
The city attorney for Toledo is helping to write our IGA for us.
Okay.
And then we'll be bringing those out.
Okay.
And he's got the other information that we've done. And yeah, that takes a lawyer.
Okay. So Commissioner Hall and County Council, do we want to bring this back for further discussion or decision? Like, what's the best way to proceed with Commissioner Jacobson being out, you think?
So this is a discussion item. I do have the draft resolution. I need to make some changes to it
Yeah,
for the county, and then I would propose bringing it back for a decision action at your November meeting.
I'm comfortable with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I will say that Commissioner Jacobson was involved when we first came up with this idea.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
she's had input into what we're doing.
So can we, when we look at this OSU, what is it, artificial intelligence, data
kind of
aggregation?
is.
What's going on there?
It's a computer platform.
Yeah.
And they call it a kind of an algorithm. We settled, we're trying to change it from university speak to something that we can all understand. And so we're
Sure.
calling it a digital decision support system.
Okay.
Okay, that's the translation for what it is. But it's a monster, but they can feed all of this information about each possibility
Yeah.
into it, and then it comes out with kind of a rating system. At least the one in Tualatin did. I got to see their data and how that came out, and so it really gives you, in terms of economics and all this, so how it pounds out, how feasible, how viable this particular
And like
possibility would be.
layers for groundwater,
Yes,
all kinds of.
yes,
issues.
it's
Can
got
we see any,
geology and
can we see it yet? I mean,
no, I mean, they're developing this one. The one from Tualatin, but see, that was just for one river, and they were dealing with one problem.
Okay.
And their usage was affecting water temperature. And they were going to have to either quit using it or do something about it. And there was a possibility of a dam. There was a possibility of changing, the watershed in the riparian zone. And there were a whole bunch of different options that they were weighing. And that was a very complex thing. So no, this is going to be developed. That's what they're working on during this initial part as well. And so they've got graduate students and all kinds of people designing this platform.
Okay.
So I can't show it to you yet because that's part of the amazing thing about this, and part of why they want to join this project is to have the opportunity to do this. And this is something that once they get that platform developed, that will be transferable to other places in the state and the country and wherever wants to, want to really do future planning for water systems.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's cool, but it's not, that's a big piece of this.
Well, it's important, right? Actually, last week I was in Joshua Tree visiting Steve Wyatt and Laura Anderson, former local Ocean Seafoods, and went to a farmer's market on Saturday and stopped in at their water district booth and thought, okay, I'm getting work done here in California, but, and similar challenges, right?
Oh,
And thinking ahead and really seeing what's there the best that we can is going to really, really help us in the future, I think. So I'm curious to see this all develop. And I think if we can jump in and help develop that platform, I think it would probably be good for us.
and we're very fortunate that the university is looking for the grant funding for this first part.
Yeah.
Initially, we had thought, and Dick Anderson was also involved at the very beginning of this, and
Okay.
and still is. He actually came to both of the OSU meetings, but we thought at the beginning, okay, well, you'll just get a professional study and that'll cost about $55,000. And so we'll get everybody to divvy up for that. Well, OSU's looking at $2 million for 2 years for the grant for this. So it's a little different. And I'm really pleased that they are optimistic about that opportunity.
Well, thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
Billie
you.
Jo.
It's
Okay.
great to talk to you. And I hope we'll have this ready for your next meeting so we can get moving and have you all on board. That'll be great.
Water.
Okay, and if you have questions about changes and things, I'll be happy to help. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Billie Jo. We move into discussion. This is a resolution regarding the Lincoln County Water Systems Alliance. Billie Jo Smith, you want to come up and talk to us?
I presented the information about the Alliance to you at a previous meeting. And your county council has put together our resolution in a format for you. You would become a member of the Lincoln County Water Systems Alliance by approving this resolution. It will be followed soon, but not immediately, by an intergovernmental agreement that will enable the Alliance to file its, what is it? The Oregon Statute 190.10, in which it would become then with the cities and county and water districts, an intergovernmental entity, which will help give it the options of doing a lot of things and receiving grants and working on a lot of things that represent us more officially. But we're beginning with this resolution. So far, we have all the cities. And we are working now to get ready to approach the water districts. Oregon State University team is already working. They are looking at they have an initial grant just for initiating the project. And that one, they're looking at, like, I think they've really got 4 focus groups that they're going to be working with. They've already met with Yahats almost a whole day, finding out what the needs are, what the possibilities are, and the things that are important to that community. They will be meeting with the tribe in January, and then they intend to do Siletz and Toledo as well as that in their initial funding, which isn't that much. Then they will be applying for some much larger grants because they will be putting together for all of our communities a plan that will be, well, the aspects of it, the possibilities for a 50-year water source and water supplies will be evaluated by them, well, and basically by us, based on a computer platform that enters all the variables and the important factors that should be considered in looking at a future source of water. And as the climate change hits us, we would probably, well, I'm waiting for the report, but we will not have water in 50 years, at least not enough for our population and all our needs. And we need to plan ahead for how to make that not be the case, and look at it positively before it's an emergency. So that's what's going on. We need you involved because you have the overview. Each city, each water district, as they talk to the OSU team to get their information and to develop the plan for their city, they still have some blinders on. They're going to be looking at ways to share, but we need involvement from you because you have the overview of the whole piece. And when it comes to voting on what goes into that plan, we need the overview considered as well. The other piece that I think is very important for you is that those parts of the county, those people in the county that are individual suppliers and small, have their wells, have their spring, they need to be represented as well. And it will be a little different from what the OSU group can put in a platform, but they still need to have a way that they'll still have water. And so we need to have your input and your contacts and your view to make sure that that's a part of the overall plan when we get it done. So that's it. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Commissioner Jacob, Senator Hall, any initial questions here?
None.
Got that resolution before us. Okay.
I don't have any questions on this. Yeah, I've definitely talked to them previously, so.
Mhm.
Just a question on the water districts. Are you speaking of both jurisdictional water districts and private water districts? I mean, I presume
We're looking at those legal water districts.
legal water districts
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we want to make sure everybody else gets water too. That's why we want your involvement and how that can be done too.
Yeah, I had a pretty extensive conversation with them on the non-water districts, community water systems. And I believe, Commissioner Miller, that you happen to be on one of those. And I think that's a really important component of this, but also presents some challenges like excuse me, we at the county don't necessarily have a list of all of those
Right.
little small community water systems that aren't a district. I've talked to many people over the years that, there's a checkbook that's passed around. They don't know if they're a nonprofit or what kind of group
Right.
they're even at, but they have some type of system. And I think Alliance people agree that that's important, but that's going to take, I think, some help from everybody to start identifying who all those people are and how to pull them in. Yeah.
Right. And the outreach meetings, those are just kind of focus group.
Right now, they're just looking at, they're just doing focus group. They just have a $28,000 grant for this initiation of the project. So it's limited, but they're wanting to, basically figure out what do people need and how can we, then they're going to look at how we're going to build this into these computer platforms with models and all kinds of data to come up with these feasibilities, level of feasibility for each one, each possible water source. But that's the big piece. But the organization as a whole will need to look at, and OSU needs to look at, what are some options for these smaller groups. Fortunately, there is, on the OSU team, there's representation from Extension and Sea Grant. So I'm hoping those folks will be able to help us come up with what are some options for our single suppliers and our small suppliers.
Yeah. Important piece of the data, just wrangling it all together, right?
Yeah. It's a monster. And they've got a good team. They've got, computer geniuses and engineers and economists and everybody on this team. So they're planning on making it work. And they're excited about it because they know if this model works, if what they put together works for a broad region like ours, that can be applied other places. And they're looking at, them having this model that they can apply at other places as well. And it will be very useful all over the country.
Yeah. Well, our children's children would probably appreciate that we, did everything we could to make sure.
I should tell you, I have an 11-year-old grandson, and he's very, very interested in news and what's happening, and he's worried about global warming and climate change, and to the point that sometimes he can't go to sleep at night. He's just anxious about it. It's really sad. And some reason, last time I was there, his dad was talking about reading something that we're going to be out of water by 2040. And Galen's freaking out. And so I told him about this project. And it was just like the tension just went. He says, that's so good. He was so relieved that we're really looking at some solutions so that we won't be out of water, we hope. Anyway, we'll come up with something. Our technology is there too, and then the OSU team can look at that.
Well, I was reading in a professional climate science journal about some of the research, and there actually had a term in there that a lot of scientists are having that work on climate change, and it's called climate anxiety. Which is kind of a diagnosable thing, I guess, at this point. So it sounds, unfortunately, like your little grandson was having that.
He was having it. He's been having it, and it's sad. And I worry about the world. There's new editions of Limits to Growth out now, that old book, and it's been revised, and it's very scary. So we need to be ahead of the game if we possibly can.
Well, sounds like the last jurisdiction to jump on. Regarding the resolution. It is under discussion. However, we can move on this.
I would be okay making a decision on it today.
As well.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution regarding the Lincoln County Water Systems Alliance.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We're there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Billie Jo. Okay. All right. Now.